Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you are watching this. Day 2 of chapter 12, continuing on with area. Yesterday we talked about the area of a square and the area of a rectangle. Today we're going to learn 2 more formulas, do a couple of examples with those formulas, and then you'll have a worksheet to complete. Let's jump right in. First formula for today is for a triangle. And the area formula for a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height. And in this formula, our height is our altitude. Height is our altitude. You can see here, we have a triangle. We need our height or our altitude to solve. The next formula that we are going to learn for today is for a parallelogram. Now, the area formula for this is going to look really similar to the area formula for a rectangle, because the area formula for a parallelogram is area equals base times height. However, in this case, our height is again our altitude. Now, we mentioned that in this case because generally when we talk about a parallelogram, a figure that looks a little something like this. And we can't just pick one of the sides because we don't have right angles, so we need to find our altitude or our height in order to solve for our parallelogram. There we have it, 2 formulas that we are going to talk about today. Let's try some examples. First example right here, we're going to be finding the total area of this figure. So we want the combined area of everything we have here. So we're given a couple of measurements. We're given 2 figures, triangle on top, rectangle on the bottom. Now the rectangle we've talked about already, but we don't have a length, we don't have a base. So we can't find that just yet. But if we look up here, we have a right triangle. So we have our base and our height. So I'm going to find the area of that first. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find the area. I'm going to put a little t next to it for the area of our triangle. And our formula is 1/2 base times height. Now in this case, I'm going to make my base 8 and my height 6. So I'm going to get 1/2. Said my base was 8 and my height was 6. When we solve that down, we should get 24 units squared. We aren't given units, but we like to put our units in there, so we have 24 units squared. That is the area of our triangle up here. Now, to solve for the rectangle, we have to find either our base here or our length here or our length here. One of these is easy to solve for. One of them you cannot solve for. If you said you wanted to solve for this, probably wouldn't be a great idea. So I'm going to find our length up here because since we have a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean's theorem to find this side length. I'm going to take a shortcut. If we look up here, we have 6 and 8. If I divide both of them by 2, I get 3 and 4. And what does that automatically tell you about a right triangle? That tells you that this side right here is a factor of 5. That way we have a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Now I divided both of these by 2, so I have to multiply my 5 by 2 to get this side. And when I do so, I get that this is 10 units. This now completes our Pythagorean triple, or a factor of our Pythagorean triple, 3, 4, 5 triangle. All of them multiplied by 2 gives us our 10 there. So now we can solve for our rectangle. Area of our little r. For rectangle, base times height, length times width, 4 times 10 gives us 40 units squared. Now we're looking for the total area. So our total area is equal to our rectangle and our triangle. When we add them together, we get 64 units squared. So let's try another one. Now we're given some measurements. We're given our rectangle measurements that we need. So we can automatically find our area of our rectangle. Area of our rectangle equals 4 times 12 gives us 48 units squared. Now in this case, we're given the altitude of our triangle, but we need to find our base. We need to find this length. Given that it's a rectangle, we have 12 units down here. So we have 12 units right there. To find our area of our triangle, we use our formula, 1/2 base times height. Our base is 12, so we have 1/2, 12 times our height, which is 7. When we solve that down, 12 times 7 is 84, divided by 2 gives us 42 units squared. So now we have the area of our triangle, the area of our rectangle. We can find the total area of our figure, which is going to be 42 units squared, plus 48 units squared, which is going to be 90 units squared. And there we go. First 2 examples for the day. Now, I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Take a look at this problem right here. We're finding the total area again, total area of our trapezoid. There are measurements. Now I want you to pause the video. I'll give you a second here to pause the video and try this problem on your own. Once you've tried it on your own, come back, watch it. I'll explain the problem and we'll solve it. So go ahead, give you a couple of seconds if you would like to pause it. All right, now to solve this problem. We're given a trapezoid. We don't yet know the formula for trapezoid. We're actually going to talk about that tomorrow. But we do know, so we know squares, we know rectangles, and we know triangles. We have a triangle here, but we're missing our base here. So we can find that base very easily. We have 12, we have 15. I notice that both of these are divisible by 3. When I do so, when I divide 12 by 3, I get 4. When I divide 15 by 3, I get 5. Should immediately be thinking 3, 4, 5 triangle, which that has, for this case, a multiple of 3, or a factor of 3. So down here, we have our 3, our 4, and our 5, and they're all multiplied by a factor of 3. 3 times 3 gives us 9. So now I can find the area of our triangle here. Area of our first triangle, triangle subscript 1, is equal to 1/2 base times height. And in this case, our base is 9 and our height is 12. 1/2 9 times 12. When we solve that down, 9 times 12 is 108. Divided by 2 gives us 54 units squared. That is our first triangle right here. 54 units squared. Now, coming over, I can make a second triangle over here by creating an altitude right here. By creating this altitude here, I now actually form a rectangle and a triangle. And since this side is already 12, I know that this side is going to be 12 as well. So I'm going to do this step right here. I'm going to find the area of our rectangle, which is 18 times 12, base times height. And when we do that, we get that the area of our rectangle is 216 units squared. Now, all we have left is our triangle over here, our last triangle. Now we have our hypotenuse and we have one of our sides. We have 13, we have 12. Just came out of our right triangle section unit, 13, 12. We should think Pythagorean triple, and we know that this final side, our base, is 5. 5, 12, 13. In doing so, we now can find the area of our second triangle, area of triangle 2, which is 1/2. Our base is 5, and our height is 12. When we solve that, 5 times 12, 60, divided by 2 gives us 30 units squared. So now we have 30 units squared here, which allows us to find our total area. Total area being 30 plus 216 plus 54 gives us a grand total of 300 units squared. And there you have it. So a little bit more work, a little bit trickier, but we're still just using squares, rectangles, triangles. We're using those formulas to solve. Let's do one more. Let's try one more. Right down here. Again, given a trapezoid, we're actually given an isosceles trapezoid. So, use that information. I'll give you another second or two to pause this video and try this on your own, and then I will go through it. Okay. So, to start this problem, we're only given 3 measurements now, so we're going to have to do a little bit more work. What I'm going to do to start is I'm going to create our height or our altitude right here. And in doing so, we create a rectangle in the middle. So I'm going to find that right off the bat. Our area of a rectangle, base times height, 8 times 10, gives us 80 units squared. Now, when I do this, this becomes 8 as well. Now we're given that this is an isosceles trapezoid. We have 10 here, which means we also have 10 units down here. Since this is an isosceles trapezoid, we know that these have to be the same. We've used up 10. What's left out of our total side length, which is 26, what's left is going to be 16. We have to divide them evenly by 2. We actually get 8 here, and we get 8 there. Now we can solve for our triangle over here, our first triangle over here, area of our triangle 1 here, which is 1/2 base times height. So area of triangle 1 is 1/2. Our base is 8 and our height is 8. When we do that, 8 times 8, 64, divided by 2 gives us 32 units squared. So our 32 units squared here. And we have 8 times 8 again, so our area of our triangle 2 is actually going to be the same. So 32 units squared. When we add them all up to get our total area, we're going to have 32 plus 32 plus 80, which gives us 144 units squared. And there you have it. Finding area. So now there is a worksheet that you can complete. We have office hours posted if you have any questions. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.